On today's episode of the DeRaud-Messinger Show, we discuss Texas recruitment. Longhorns fans, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. It's greatly appreciated. So guys, we have a special episode today. We're bringing in an insider in Nick Harris of Horns247. Now Nick, I have a stat that I pulled from the statistician that we have for the show, aka myself. We know how well I pay myself there. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Nick Harris. Only one has been on the DeRaud-Messinger Show, so congrats on being here. What an accomplishment in your career so far. Maybe not past your broadcast debut that you made a couple days ago, but still pretty impressive.
I appreciate it. It's good to be here. We finally made this happen. We've been trying to make it happen for a long time, so glad we're able to do it now on the bye week.
Yeah, Nick likes to play hard to get, but we do have Tom Brady coming in next week, Devon, so I've already DM'd him on Twitter, so he's just here first, yeah.
Now, Nick, to start off the recruiting talk, I know the Longhorns fans want to hear anything about Arch Manning, good or bad. Is there any news after visiting Texas during the Oklahoma State weekend that you have?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Texas has done a really good job with his recruitment since Steve Sarkisian has arrived on campus. Steve Sarkisian has a really close relationship with the Manning family, and, you know, by effect, that has bled over into Arch's recruitment. And we can jump forward to last week. On Thursday night, Sarkisian and quarterbacks coach A.J. Milwee made the trip out to New Orleans to see him in person in the game that he played on Thursday night on national television. And was able to build, you know, a little bit more of a relationship there in person. And then he came in over the weekend, stayed Saturday night throughout the weekend, and bonded with some other recruits and stuff. And, you know, from everything we've gathered, it was a really positive visit for Texas, even despite the comeback loss to Oklahoma State. You know, overall, I really don't feel like it had too much of an effect on recruiting. I think it did with certain guys, but, you know, an overall feel, I think a lot of recruits see an opportunity to come in and play right away and play for, you know, a coaching staff that's really energized and, you know, ready to get after it. And that kind of includes Arch Manning. You know, Georgia, Alabama, those are going to be schools that are going to be tough to say no to. But I think Texas has really put themselves in a good spot moving forward going into the spring. We'll see what happens and if they can close the deal.
Now, Nick, I know that the Arch Manning sweepstakes is going on, and Texas has missed out on, obviously, Quinn Ewers as well, but who is a guy that you think is a must-get for UT going into this recruiting class that hasn't committed yet?
In 2022?
Yes.
Okay. Man, I like to look on the defensive side of the ball specifically just because the offense has curbed a lot of my concerns here in the first 6 or 7 games that they've played so far. I really thought that the offense would be more of a concern than the defense coming in, but now that we're 7 games in, we do know what those concerns are. And, you know, they really need defensive back help. And so my answer is probably going to be Denver Harris. You know, that's a recruitment that I still feel is very winnable for Texas. They need to show a little bit more on the field and show some improvement as the season goes on, especially in the secondary. But Alabama and LSU and Texas A&M, they're giving their best fight as well. But I really think this comes down to Alabama and Texas. And the only thing left to do is for Texas to win and show some improvement in the secondary, like I said. But it's a winnable recruitment. I think that's a must get if you look at the rest of the guys on the board. I mean, obviously there's some other guys on defense like Harold Perkins. That would be a huge add because, you know, of how versatile he is. He can play linebacker, he can play edge, he can play safety, he can play corner, he can play anywhere on the field. So having a guy like that would be absolutely ginormous. But to have a guy like Denver that specializes in locking one side of the field completely down, I think that's definitely what you want as a Texas fan right now.
I know that you saw Harold, I believe last weekend, was it, Nick?
Yeah.
Did you get any takeaways about his leanings? I know that LSU is in the race, Texas A&M as well. Now that Ed Orgeron is out as LSU head coach, is that making any of a difference in his standing, or is he still up in the air?
Yeah, I mentioned this on the site last night. I wish I had talked to Harold after the news of Ed Orgeron came out. But, you know, I think I got a full grasp of, you know, where he sits with LSU. And his relationship has been through offensive analyst Dwayne Thomas. That relationship has been really strong. I think if Dwayne Thomas were to depart, then that would definitely negatively affect LSU. But if they can keep him around and bring in an encouraging staff, I think that, you know, keeps LSU in the race. But kind of looking at the overall picture, you know, Perkins has seen what he wants to see from Texas. He's been on 2 visits for games this season. The first visit he came in, he was a little late after a delay in his game that he played on Saturday afternoon. He came in at halftime. So he came in the next week to see everything, you know, with a full picture and a full view. came in before the game, stayed late on Saturday night, and had a good time at the Texas Tech game. So he's seen everything he wants to see from Texas. He's built a really good relationship with Jeff Banks, the assistant head coach, and the recruiting guru. And now it's just going to come down to, as the season goes on, which team is he going to feel most comfortable with? And as it sits right now, I would probably say Texas A&M is probably that fit. There still is, 2.5, 3 months left for his decision. And, if you ask any of those three schools, ask anybody in the recruiting department, they'll tell you Harold Perkins is a wild card. We wouldn't expect nothing to be surprising or unsurprising. So, that's definitely one to keep an eye on. But as I pin it right now, I think Texas A&M is the leader. I wouldn't count out the dark horse Oregon. He's still taking an official visit out there at the end of the month. So that's one to keep an eye on moving forward.
Nick, I know you and Oregon not on the best of terms right now, so let's hope it doesn't lean that way. And we're firm believers in science on this show. And I know we like our hat science, Nick, but we also like our glove science. When Dylan and I were at the game, we saw some LSU gloves out there, but yet again, I'm not buying too much stock into that. Now, I know you're going to this good state of Louisiana this coming weekend, and you're looking at Jacoby Matthews. Was there anything about him and his visit that caught your eye this past weekend?
Yeah, he had really good things to say about Texas coming out of the visit. We have a interview up on Horns247, just kind of recapping his thoughts. And he said that Texas, really blew him away, made a really good impression. So, my job this week is to go down there and figure out how much of an impression that was. Texas A&M is in that race. LSU is going to stick around in that race, just kind of depending on what happens with their coaching staff. You might not know, but Texas A&M is definitely going to be the biggest contender there. I think it's going to come down to another in-state Texas versus Texas A&M battle. We'll see how much Texas did as time goes on. We'll see how much that visit really sticks with him. That's another one that's not going to be committed until January. So, Texas fans are just going to have to ride the roller coaster on that one.
So one question. Yeah, go ahead, Dylan. You take this one.
Okay, so I know we're making a big stink about the 2022 recruitment class right now, but I wanted to take a step back and talk about the 2021 guys that have been making an impact on the field this season. Is there a guy that's jumped out to you? Obviously, the answer could be Xavier Worthy. He's been phenomenal this season, but I just wanted to hear your take on who you think has really stepped up and provided a boost to this Texas team this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Xavier Worthy is the easy answer, but kind of looking around at some other guys that have gotten some solid playing time and have, done really well with that playing time. Byron Murphy really sticks out to me, the 4-star defensive tackle out of DeSoto. I mean, he's one of the strongest guys that I've ever seen at the high school level. Despite, being maybe short for a defensive lineman, he makes up for it in his strength. That's going to be a guy that I firmly believe will be playing on Sundays one day. He's been, super phenomenal at the high school level. And, that kind of speaks volumes to what he's been able to do at the college level already. He's already getting solid playing time in that interior defensive line, and he's making the most of it. He's creating a lot of problems in there. And another guy that really has surprised me with really, really good play from the class of 2021, also on the defensive line, is Barron Sorrell out of New Orleans. This was a kid that committed on early signing day. It wasn't really talked about that much. I think if you asked people to name all of the commits in the class, I guarantee you nobody would remember Barron Sorrell's name off the top of their mind. But that's a guy who's played really well in the defensive line so far. I think that was a really good find by the Herman staff and Oscar Giles. And, that's definitely benefiting Sark's defensive line. Kind of looking forward and seeing how many defensive linemen are in the 2022 class as well. I think that's really going to be a strong position group we look up at here in about 3 years and look back on these couple of recruiting classes and see.
And on the other side of the ball, on the offensive line in the 2022 recruiting class, is there any progress being made there? I know Longhorns fans have made it known that they want some great big uglies on that front.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm starting to grow a little bit more confident in offensive line recruiting as the fall goes on. I think a name to keep an eye on moving forward is Malik Ogbo, the 4-star offensive lineman out of Seattle. He took an official visit to Texas this past weekend, and actually we'll go back to the summer when he released his top 5, and Texas did not make the cut. And I think a lot of Texas fans found that surprising. Hell, even I found that surprising. So for Texas to get back in that race, get an official visit out of him, and then blow him away on the official visit to the point where, I think Texas could be considered the leader at this point. I think that's a huge job by Kyle Flood and Steve Sarkisian. So Malik Ogbo is definitely one to keep an eye on. They're still pushing after Kelvin Banks, trying to get him to flip from Oregon. We'll see how successful they end up being in that race. Devon Campbell, the 5-star from Arlington, that's going to be Texas's best chance of getting a 5-star lineman in this class. And Oklahoma and Alabama, they're going to be tough, especially Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma is very slowly picking up some steam in this race, but Texas is still a leader. And there's about 2.5, 3 months before he commits. So Texas just needs to stay the course and make sure they do everything to get Devon Campbell. Trying to think of some other guys as well. They have Connor Robertson committed already. Cole Hudson committed already. I think Cole Hudson is a really phenomenal player, and I think Connor Robertson has a lot of upside, after some development in Austin. So we'll see how this offensive line class shakes out, but it's already better than it was last year.
And the last recruiting name that I'm specifically going to mention and ask you about here, Evan Stewart. I know he opted out of the season. Are you feeling that he's coming back into Texas's arms in terms of recruiting? I know a lot of talk was about Florida and SEC schools a couple months ago, but it seems to be much more neutral now. Do you have any word on that?
Yeah, speaking of wild cards, Evan Stewart's definitely the wild card. He's coming off a really good visit this past weekend to Texas. He came in on Friday, stayed until Sunday. He bonded with Larry Turner-Gooden, the safety out of California that was in for an official visit. He really bonded with Xavier Worthy. Those two have grown really close during Evan's recruitment process. Texas A&M, he's taking an official visit out there this upcoming weekend. I think that's definitely something to keep an eye on. I think A&M could make up a lot of ground in that race if they have a good weekend. Alabama and Florida, those are two schools that I hear the most as well. I expect him to get out to Alabama again before the season ends, and he's been to Florida so much already as well. So it's going to be tough with those three SEC schools, trying to grab his commitment. But I think Texas is in a really good spot. Again, they're just going to have to stay the course, and hopefully they land him here in December. I think that's kind of the theme with a lot of these guys is, just kind of stay the course, show them that there's an opportunity to play early, show them there's an opportunity to develop at Texas under this new coaching staff, and we'll see how successful they are in doing that.
Thanks for that info. And lastly, Nick, if there's any other recruiting updates you'd like to give or plug in your own information, you can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I heard Devon-Messinger is going to be committing to Texas. Did I hear that right? 5-star journal.
Hey, shh. We're saving that for the.
He can play tight end too, Nick. He can play tight end too. Plug him in.
Okay. Hey, we can work with that. Can you play
Sneaky burners. I'll block on the outside.
No, that's about it. Y'all can follow me on Twitter at NickHarris247. Check us out on Horns247. We have a lot of recruiting content going up all the time, and our team site people do a fantastic job as well. We have some of the best crew in the state of Texas covering Texas Longhorns football, so give us a chance.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Nick. And you guys, if you're going to buy stock on someone, if you're going to place your bets on them, Nick Harris right here. Now's the time to do it while he's also getting his bets in on these NFL games, Nick, that I'm seeing on Twitter quite a bit. I don't know how that's going. You're betting against Mike Roach's Bills, but that's talk for another day. But thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, guys.
And now it's time for our Week 9 Texas High School football picks, lightning round style. The first game, Dylan, we got is 6A, number 24, C.E. King at number 8, North Shore. I got North Shore.
Yeah, Devon, I have North Shore as well. C.E. King coming off the 21-point loss tumble at Tascasita. But in bigger news, North Shore is playing Tascasita next week, Devon, so that's a game to watch. Now, our next one, we have 5A D1, number 10, Fort Bend Hightower at Katy Pateau, number 9, Katy Pateau. I think I'm saying that right.
I'm not really sure, but go ahead.
Okay, I'm going with Katy Pateau. Sorry if I'm butchering that name.
Okay, I think it's Pateau, so I'm going Katy Pateau, but you guys let us know down below.
Sounds good. Thank
5A D2, we got number 8 Frisco at number 3 Lovejoy. I got the Lovejoy Leopards.
I have Lovejoy as well. With our last one, we got 3A D2, number 6 Abernathy at number 10 Lubbock Roosevelt. I have Abernathy. Devon?
I got Abernathy as well. I think I picked against them last week or the week before. I was wrong. Next game, we have 2A D2, number 10 Groover at number 6 Stratford. I got Stratford.
I have Stratford at home as well, Devon.
And who do you guys have in your picks? Let us know down below. And also, what are you thinking about Longhorns recruiting? Comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a great rest of your day.